What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you some speculation about the release date of Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. Now, before this, I put out a video that is more about information about the title and everything we know so far after the recent announcement of the title itself. Now, I want to start this off by saying that while ultimately this is speculation, it is surprisingly well-informed speculation. This is primarily because when asked about the release date over on their Reddit, Owlcat Games, the people developing this title, responded with, while they can't specifically answer how far along they are in development, etc., they mentioned that you can take a look at their previous projects and get a rough idea of where they are. And at that point, it's a simple matter of some research and we can make some, again, informed, educated guesses. Now, if you follow the channel at all, I follow Owlcat Games pretty extensively. I've reviewed and played both of their titles up to this point, both of the Pathfinder titles. And while Owlcat Games has only released 2 games, they have been remarkably consistent in their timelines so far, which makes this even easier. So let's actually dive into that. Their first project, Pathfinder Kingmaker, was funded on Kickstarter on July 11th, 2017. It released in September of 2018, September 25th to be very specific. And then, for their second title, Wrath of the Righteous, it was funded on Kickstarter on March 11th, 2020, and it released in September also of 2021, September 2nd. Now, what's interesting about Wrath in particular is that its alpha period actually started just shortly after the Kickstarter ended. The Kickstarter ended in March, the alpha began in April, albeit towards the end of April. So, pulling that information together, I think it's safe to guess that Rogue Trader, if all goes well and there aren't any problems in development, it doesn't get delayed, etc., I think we're looking at September 2023, as that would fall right in line with their previous 2 releases. That said, Rogue Trader, unlike their first 2 titles, is not a Kickstarter. And after the success of Wrath of the Righteous, I think that would have been a surprise if they had done a Kickstarter for it. But with that in mind, Rogue Trader's announcement comes the closest to Kingmaker's funding in July 11th of 2017. With our announcement for Rogue Trader being on June 1st of this year, this past couple days. So with that in mind, to extrapolate even farther, I think it's safe to say that we will likely see alpha testing begin towards the end of this year, probably September, October, somewhere in there. And then I imagine beta will likely be somewhere early next year or late first quarter. And that's pretty much what I've got for you guys. Release date speculation for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. Now, I do want to continue this video towards the end with one other point, referring back to the Reddit post we just talked about a minute ago. In this Reddit post, we see an Owlcat CM talk about the release date, of course, or the progress and development, if you will. But we also see that last line of information there, that Pathfinder development continues, specifically on DLCs that were already announced. We knew those were coming this fall, and then an enhanced edition that we also knew was being worked on. Now, this is interesting because elsewhere on, I forget it was either Twitter or Reddit, Owlcat has mentioned that they are now a big enough studio to effectively work on 2 things at once. However, the exact nature of that is up in the air. So obviously we know that they've been working on Rogue Trader. We know it's been in development for a while, actually. There was a job listing around the time of Wrath of the Righteous's announcement where they were asking for a sci-fi related artist, I believe it was. And Owlcat's excuse at the time was that this was for Blackwater, a surprisingly high-tech area of Wrath of the Righteous. However, obviously this wound up being Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. So we know the game's been in development for a while. We know that Wrath of the Righteous was a very successful title that allowed them to grow. So really what I'm getting at here is we have 2 options with the Pathfinder still being in development thing. For starters, I know it just says Pathfinder, but I think it's safe to assume that he meant Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. But nonetheless, it does call into question something else, and this is much more speculatory than previous, so I put it here at the end of the video. We can assume one of 2 things. First, we can assume that potentially Owlcat is big enough to work on Rogue Trader primarily, and then they have a smaller team working on the DLCs and enhanced editions. Personally, I think that is the most likely case, as that just seems to make a lot of sense given what they've put out and what they've announced, etc. And then there's the second option, which I fully admit is more wishful thinking than anything else. And that is that they have 2 full-size teams working on different projects in tandem, which is a model that we've seen other companies adopt. And in this situation, we would know that, of course, they were working on Rogue Trader and Pathfinder still, but that option opens up the possibility that they are working on then another title after this one gets released, etc. And there's a sort of back and forth between these two teams about what they're actually getting done. And in that scenario, we could potentially see Owlcat actually producing more Pathfinder content beyond just Wrath of the Righteous, or even the Starfinder content. That would be very welcome. Now, again, that is purely more wishful thinking on my part than anything in reality. I think the more probable option was scenario 1, where the bulk of their team is working on Rogue Trader, and then they have a small team doing the DLCs, etc. But that said, I think it makes good business sense to set up a model where you are alternating between two franchises or projects in development, etc., that you can kind of release off-cycle from one another, so you're constantly releasing something and maximizing your cash flow, basically, and also your content releases, which is just better for the consumer as well. That's just extra speculation on my part. The main thing I wanted to bring you guys was the release date speculation of Rogue Trader, which I think is pretty likely, unless we see some significant delays or something crop up. Their past work and that Reddit post from their CM makes it pretty apparent that they're seemingly pretty well on track right now. So again, September 2023 would be my guess. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed the video, as speculative as it was. And if you did enjoy it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. We are growing every day, and we're going to keep on grinding towards 100K subscribers, which is a big goal that we've been working on for a while. But thank you guys. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.